Hi, I'm Somya and I'm a second year medical student, and today I'll be sharing the 3-step process on how I memorize/remember info that I use in uni and I used during my time in A-levels, which helped me get 4 A stars. And this 3-step process might help you to get the grades that you want. And the 3rd step is the most important. But the first step is very simple. Just listen. Paying attention in class will help you understand the very basics of the topics. You do not need to be an expert in the topic straight after the lesson. You should just have a foundation to work off. Now that you've been introduced to the information, you want to consolidate it as soon as possible. This is because memory retention drops the most after the first time you learn something. The way that I did this in A-levels is I would make notes on the subject using PMT a couple of days after I learned it. In uni, I currently try to make Anki flashcards on the same day that I learn the info from my lectures. Making revision materials like notes and flashcards helps with memory by actively engaging your brain in processing and organizing the info. And it can help you clear up any confusions or gaps in understanding you had during the lesson. After this step, you should have a clearer understanding of the info. And that's the whole point. Understanding something makes it easier to memorize. As I said, the 3rd step is the most important one, but I do have some bonus tips to help you memorize after this one. This step is what separates top students from the average ones. Now that you understand the info, we need to practice retrieving that info. During my A-levels, we would be told we would have a test at the end of each topic. To prepare for these, I would answer practice questions. But how does this help with memory? When you see a question, it gets you to try and retrieve the knowledge that you have understood and apply it to the question. And that step is what strengthens neural connections related to the topic. For uni, Anki gives me the flashcards I should be going through based on spaced repetition. This is a learning technique that involves reviewing material at increasing intervals to improve retention and long-term memory. And I would be doing this every day. Just like a question, flashcards test how well you can retrieve the info, and repeating the skill strengthens neural connections, which improves memory. As I said, I have a few bonus memory hacks that I want to share with you, but that was how I memorized the facts that I learned, through a process of trying to understand the info when it's being taught, then going home and developing my understanding by making revision material, then testing how well I know the info by trying to retrieve info from memory. Now for some bonus memory hacks. Let me ask you a question. How come when it comes to music, most people can memorize the lyrics of an entire song, or when you hear the instrumental bit of the music, you start singing the lyrics? One reason is because you have probably heard the song multiple times, which is part of step 3 where you repeatedly try and retrieve the info. But another reason is because the two have been paired together in your mind. Try to do the same with the topics you learn. For example, in biology, you learn about water potential during osmosis, and that same info is used when you learn about the mass flow hypothesis. Try this next time when you struggle to memorize a topic. Alongside linking 2 topics together, you could try and find a pattern between pieces of info. For example, I was struggling to remember that benzodiazepines work by increasing the probability of the GABA A receptors opening, and I was getting that mixed up with barbiturates, which increase the mean time that the receptor is open for. Instead of trying to repeat the information and try and memorize it that way, I just saw that there is a P in benzodiazepines and not in barbiturates, and that P is also in probability. And now I won't get the 2 different drug types mixed up because I found a pattern in the information. That's probably a really bad example, but try and find patterns within pieces of information. And here's one from my teachers. He used to say that he didn't have to memorize certain bits of info because he could just work it out. As an example, instead of memorizing the surface area of a cylinder, if you understand where the equation comes from, you don't really need to memorize it as such, because you could just work it out in the exam, that the cylinder is just made of 2 circles plus a rectangle. That way, I don't need to waste time memorizing specific bits of info because I can work it out. You can also use mnemonics to remember a sequence of steps. Try to make them as weird and unique as possible, as that separates the info from more common pieces of info. And diagrams are easier to memorize than words, so draw diagrams about the info you find difficult to absorb. But trying to memorize is not all. You need to make sure that you have some good study habits as well. And just so you get better grades, watch this video on 3 scientifically proven study habits of top students.